Hi, everyone. Welcome. It's so wonderful to have you, and it's wonderful to have all of you who are watching this video with us. I am so fortunate to be able to have a great conversation today with our candidates for the 24-25 and 26-27 election. So we're going to start by having them introduce themselves, and then we're going to have a conversation about some of the things that they would like to see happen in the coming years with AMTA. So Leslie, since you are our 24-25 candidate, let's start with you.
Hi, everyone. I am your candidate for President Elect for the 2024-2025 slate. My name is Leslie Orozco Henry. I use she, her pronouns. I have been a music therapist for a little over 3 decades and worked in a variety of different clinical settings, and most recently am the academic program director at Alverno College in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'd like to pass this over to Brian, who is running for president-elect for the 2025-2026 slate. Brian?
Thank you, Leslie. Brian Jantz. I'm a candidate for president-elect, which would be starting next year. And I've worked in many different settings over the years. Most of my work, full-time work, has been in pediatrics and psychiatric settings. Most recently, I've been teaching full-time at Berklee College of Music in Boston. I also serve NER as the AAC rep supporting national roster sites. And I'm going to send it to Marta.
Hello, my name is Marta Hernández-Candelas. I am from San Juan, Puerto Rico. I graduated from my master's equivalency program in 2012. So I've been doing music therapy for over 13 years. Before that, I was doing music education, and I still do it. And I am running for Vice President Elect for the 2026 time slot. And I am very happy to have the opportunity to meet you and to work with the AMTA, which I have been a member for a long time.
Lovely, everyone. It's so great to formally meet you, and I hope that those of you who are watching really get a great picture of not only each one of these candidates, but how they're going to work together as we dive into some questions. So the first question that I'd love for us to discuss is just share a little bit about what made you interested in serving as an elected member of the board.
I'd be happy to start. This is Leslie. Some of the things that really drive my passion and my deep commitment to the association is the love that I have for the music therapy profession. I'm very committed to it. I understand and have witnessed the transformative powers of music and how it can be really life-changing for the people in which we help. And I also have a deep commitment to the profession and the people who are music therapists and receive services. Lastly, I also think about this idea that we need to continually evolve and that there needs to be a willingness to look deeply at what serves our profession and go into this with an openness as we think about what changes we want and developing a strategy around that.
Thanks for that, Leslie. I can kind of jump off of some of those things you brought up. I was also thinking about really like the deep love that I have for our community, for music therapy, and how when I'm feeling connected to that, I feel really motivated to do everything that I can to support our communities, support peers, students, clients that we work with, and I think I've the way my career has gone, like I didn't get into this to be on a board or to do this type of to be in this leadership role necessarily, but I also didn't get into music therapy to teach music therapy. I feel like these opportunities sometimes come along and you realize that you can contribute in a new way, and so far that has usually been the right choice when I come up against something that I haven't done exactly before. But what has me most excited about this board and this specific role I think is it really connects back to my experience as speaker, feeling like through, a very challenging time, I was part of some really significant changes beginning to occur. And it was hard to step away from that. I really needed to because of additional responsibilities I was taking on where I work at Berkeley. But yeah, the chance to but being very aware of how those things have continued to evolve and develop over time, having an opportunity to reconnect with everyone in this new way would be just, a really great thing. And I think I've learned a lot through the board experiences I've had so far, and I would look forward to learning a lot more.
Yes. Well, in my case, I've been doing a lot of advocacy in Puerto Rico for music therapy. I started working at the Conservatory of Music where I teach as a professor now. And from that, I started also working at a hospital, opening doors for music therapy in a hospital where we were, first it was only me and there were 3 music therapists. And now in Puerto Rico, we have over 30 music therapists. Not everybody study in the US, but we do have many music therapists. And so we have been opening doors for people to be able to provide the service and also for people to get the music therapy services. So I think that being part of the AMTA has given me tools that can benefit other people from Puerto Rico, from other places in the United States that might not feel that is part of them, but I do feel that I'm part of music, this association. So I think that sharing this experience that I had with AMTA will also help and learn, and also bringing my knowledge from my own experiences and building up, a music program here with our circumstances, and also bringing other languages issues, other culture issues will help also giving more diverse perspective of what music therapy is, where more people can benefit.
I love that all 3 of you, in some way or another, talked about kind of evolving, right? Like that, bringing who you are to the table, and then evolving with the opportunities, evolving with the knowledge, and then using that to turn around and then support the profession more broadly. So I love to see that synergy already happening, just even in the way that you answered the questions. So that sets us up really well for the question of, what would you like to accomplish in the next 2 years, or the next 4, or for Brian, the next 6, since that will be the length of his term? What is it that you all would like to see us as AMTA accomplish in that time?
That's a really big and important question, in my opinion. This is Leslie again, and one of the things that I see as very important is to continue to build on the stability that Brian was talking about. There's been a lot of movement in the last 3 years to make the association stronger, have more stability financially, and also it gives us a time where we can begin to look at our governance and how we staff our offices. So through this, it's something that I think about a lot, is continuing to think about what our mission is, and take that mission, really understand it well, and live the mission. This is really a key aspect of any nonprofit organization, and we are no different as the AMTA. I'd like to build upon the stability that has happened over the last couple of years, and I'm really motivated to examine the systems we have within our association and try and understand how things work together so that we can do that deep looking at where our governance is, looking for efficiencies, looking for the places that we want to be in the future, and have really a vision and a strategy around that vision. It's going to take time looking at the data we currently have, and we're also going to need to gather new data. to look at where we want to go. And so there needs to be this understanding of where we were before, where we are now, and where we are going to be going in the future. So in these first couple years, I mean, looking at more tangible things, really thinking about what the mission is, and then driving our activities and the outcomes by the end of 2 years, connecting them to really where our mission is and where we want to be. I know a lot of people are asking about, when will we return back to a national conference? And I think this is a conversation we're getting much closer to having. And so as we think about the strategy and building a strategy for these next 2 years, we're going to look at education. We're going to look at access, and as they are part of our mission. And of course, a conference, our Thinkific platforms, and learning opportunities in general are part of those strategies. And so we can begin to really plan for those things. So that's where I'm at for the next 2 years. 4 years, I hope we continue to anticipate what people's needs are. I'd like us to continue to build on stability and continue to transform the systems that we have so we can become stronger. 6 years from now, this will be when I'm off the board, but this is what I hope I help influence and provide some support in setting up. I want a strong and vibrant profession where more communities have access to music therapy. And I want more trained music therapists, because there's the need. The need is definitely out there. So there's not enough music therapists. I also want systems that will pay for music therapy. A strong association will be able to anticipate these market changes and the needs of music therapists and the people who will use music therapy services. And so I really want to set us up for that vision that I want to see, and I bet many of you want to see as well.
Yeah. Let's go that. Makes me think of a question, and Brian and Marta, I would love to have you all jump in on this as well. It's a challenging time right now, and you talked about anticipating and setting us up to succeed. What are some ways that you think, even in these challenging times, that we can do that we can set it up so that we can be successful moving forward?
Well, I think that we need to keep working on professional unity. So we work as one, even though we are very different, but we still have the same goal to work with people, help or their well-being, and to improve their treatment, to get to their in terms of what's the word in English? The recuperación, the people's well-being, treatment, and also before and after. That's something we want to do. We want to make sure that we are providing the best kind of services as a unit, even though we have this difference. I also think that we can keep working on advocacy, but in a more broader perspective, not just the state, nationally. So if we get that, and I know that we are working towards that, but that every music therapy knows that it's important to do it from their place, but also in a bigger perspective, even globally, because the AMTA influences the world of music therapy. And if we have that in our mind, I think we can help other people do a better service. I also think that when we do music therapy as a team, as a team, meaning that everybody is more aware of what we do, then laws will also understand. And if we have better research with the lawmakers will understand better that what we do. So we need to work as a unit for all those goals.
Yeah, I really love what you were saying there, Marta, and what you said earlier, Leslie. To kind of go back to what you were asking, Lori, I think about those challenges all the time, of course, like we all do, and also kind of going back to like why are we interested in being in these roles? For me, if I find myself approaching it with the fear that naturally creeps up, that folks are going to lose access, and fears within education as well, and I think all those fears are valid. I don't always see action steps that we can take. Like, well, I don't always focus as much on what we can do, and it's easy to fall into that. But if I like stay connected to what do we really want, how do we want to make it through this time, what's on the other end, or even just embracing the process, like one step in front of the other, then I find myself feeling a bit more confident that like Marta said, like as a team, we are a powerful field, small but mighty field, really. And then, I think we've done a lot to connect with, in terms of access, like we want to focus on access, right, for our clients within our field, music therapy services, what we provide that is so unique. But I also see the partnerships growing with arts and health, and I think that's really important and very different than what I remember coming into the field, where it felt like we were often kind of separate and siloed, and I understand why. But I think we're past that time, or we're getting past it. And I think there's a lot of strength in that, because there are so many community musicians and so many artists that have that motivation, that overlap with us there. And I think we can do a lot to educate about the differences, but also look for the common ground. And it's a way that we can really expand our reach. And yeah, those are the things that come up for me. I find that I kind of go back and forth between things that I'm thinking about related to education, and then things that I experience in my clinical work, more limited now than it was in the past, but it's really all connected. It's really all connected. I'm excited about new opportunities to include folks who have, in terms of board service, like folks who maybe haven't thought about serving on the board in the past. That was me a few years ago. And so I think like creating a welcoming environment where we're continuing to be more and more open to different perspectives. That was something that I experienced on the board a few years ago. I'll admit it was kind of a pleasant surprise, and it's really one of the main reasons I am interested in being back, working with you all.
So thank you, Brian. I love that. What's so great is to hear like all of you are saying very similar things in different ways, but those different ways help us see the different perspectives on how we can move the association forward, right? I hear a lot about community and about collaboration and about evolving. That really, as you were talking, that's really standing out to me, how whether it's arts and health that you brought up, Brian, or Marta, the advocacy piece, just the idea that that we continue to do as Leslie said and keep the mission at the center of what we're doing, and stay grounded in that. And Brian, you hinted at some things that would be doable in the next 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, but is there anything in particular that you'd like to outline that you'd like to see accomplished in that time frame?
That's a great question. I was thinking about the mission and values statement that I know, like in my experience on the board, we would, kind of look at and think like, is this where we are? And I think we had, other priorities, but we kind of knew that we needed to revisit that. But there's one piece of it that I do think maybe we didn't realize how much it was going to be true, but that rapidly changing world part, I think is just so true right now. So I think having an association that can move a little more quickly at times, still carefully, with intention, but I think like finding new ways to communicate is also part of that. Something I've thought about is opportunities to connect, perhaps other than in the like business meetings and meetings like that. I'm not, some of these things are ideas I don't, and it wouldn't just be up to me. Like that is not the way I would lead. I think that's not the way Leslie would lead either. So I think like us putting our heads together and figuring out like new ways we can support the community through peer support, mentorship. I like the idea of having student continuing to grow, I should say, because I have experienced a lot of growth in this area where there's more of that connection between the student um, organization and the professional organization, but continuing to build that so that we're really like mentoring and learning from like future leaders in our field, in the classroom, but also through board service and in other ways. I'm thinking about conference, of course. You know, I'm thinking about like maybe new ideas to build on the amazing job that our VPs have done the past few years. But like, where do we go with that? And I know Marta has ideas around that, and we know that there's the need. And for me, like the need for that really speaks to our love of this community. Like there's a reason why we've missed that in-person element, and it's also great that there was a solution that has really helped us to stay connected. Um, I think the mission and value statement is a top priority, and I also think strategic planning. And I know it's kind of easy to find reasons why it's not always the best time to do that. It feels like a big thing to take on. But I also think like along the way, we've probably all taken notes on things that we think that we feel maybe should be part of it. So I feel like once we get to it, it'll come together with us here if we're all involved, but also other board members and the community. I feel like it's time to look at that, and that'll be a wonderful way to like guide us into the next 6 years. So I guess to answer your question, Lori, I feel like to be determined a bit, because I do think like solidifying missions and values statement, strategic planning, but I feel like that all will be doable within the next few years. And then the rest will kind of fall into place, building on the stability for sure, but not at the expense of some of the other aspects where we've grown as well, being more inclusive, being more open to embracing conversations and just more transparency. We can always continue to work on that, but even in how I've experienced the board communicating in a way that's not where everyone's invited, you know, including like the meetings we've had where like the entire community is part of that process. Yeah, so that's what's coming up for me.
Thank you, Brian. I love that. Marta, how about you? What do you see in the next 2, 4 years, 6 years?
I see more people being engaged with
Mm.
AMTA. I see more people thinking that this is part of where they can belong. And we can do that through the webpage, to looking thoroughly and thoughtfully about how we can get people involved when they see our webpage, when what they see, if they can connect with it. And I say this because when I show it to my students, so that when they want to know about music therapy, I always tell them, go to the webpage. It tells you everything you need to know to decide where you want to go to school afterwards. Now we're going to have a music therapy program in the conservatory in Puerto Rico. But our students from Puerto Rico, not everybody will stay here, or they might move, or they might get their master's somewhere else. So it's the best place to feel like, okay, there is a community and I can belong. So I think that if we can work through with that, it will be a very good start. Of course, doing this together with the strategic planning, with the stability, of course, and everything through the mission. And I also, in terms of myself, I see myself working together with the presidents and with their goals, supporting what they want to do, and trying to be a model for that, because that's what we need to do. If there's if there's a mindset of how things are going to be run, then we need to work together for that. So that's something I want to do.
So that community is coming clear for all three of you, and I'm so grateful for you to share that and for us to be able to hear that. What do you think some of the challenges are that we might face as we're trying to move not only the association but the profession forward?
I have been thinking a lot about this as well, and there are three things that really keep a lot of my attention. One is the uncertainty of academia. And the idea, not everybody is aware of something called the enrollment cliff. It's something I encourage you to look at. It's going to affect our field and just about every professional field goes for a college degree right now. So I think about that enrollment cliff quite a bit, and the public perception of a college degree, the affordability of a college degree. I think it's really important for the association to help at least think about and potentially develop a plan to attract students to our fine academic programs. I also think a lot about payer sources and people being able to afford and access music therapy services. And by design, by the way states pay for music therapy services, there's always going to be some unevenness from state to state. But it's also really important for the stability of our career and field to have certain things that are stable across states and regions, so that people can have access to the field, but also this is a stable career for people to be in. Right now, we're living through a time where there are rapid, unpredictable, dramatic changes in healthcare and education. And so being really aware of what's happening, trying to anticipate what we can ahead of time, and then also being agile as things develop so that we can advocate so people have access to music therapy. And pulling out just a little further that career aspect of it, that our career opportunities as people choose a career in music therapy, as they're in a career in music therapy, that there's opportunity for that stability and also advancement within the field. I'd love to see us focus in on building the career nurturing that we have for our members and for people in the field as well.
Yeah, I really love that last part of what you were sharing there, Leslie. Um, I think in a way, like you said, being agile, and also I'm thinking about at times like broadening the horizons a bit. I don't, I think that naturally music therapy is growing in new directions, and it doesn't mean it's becoming like less music therapy, but I think, just like we're in so many settings now where we were not, didn't have as much of a presence 20, 30 years ago when I got into the field. I think there will be new opportunities, I think, if we're open to it. Maybe again, going back to arts and health, developing programs that are perhaps less traditional, but maybe they create more access and more job opportunities for music therapists, while finding ways to continue to support those in their current positions. So I'm thinking about like the advocacy that's occurring through Judy and government relations, and how important that is right now. The communication that we're receiving, the updates, but also state to state, the meetings that are occurring, licensure, all of those things feel even more important than they were in the past. Yeah, so I've been thinking about all those things as well.
Yeah. When I hear you, Brian, I think that we need to think out of the box. That because the challenges are real, and economic situations are coming, financial crises are there already, and there are wars, things that we don't want to happen. But if we think about them and we get them out of the box, thinking, of course, using research, but also using our proposal writing, grant writing tools, even our research tools, and we can support our community with new ideas on how to get this going. And again, talking about community, we need to have more meetings with everybody, so people can also bring their own ideas. So within those challenges, communication is going to be crucial. Good communication within all the members of our association. So what I hope is that everybody gets engaged, and that more of our members see this association as the place to go when I did something, and so we can give back and exchange ideas and grow with it.
Yeah, I'm so happy to hear you say that, Marta, about the thinking outside the box, especially as the person on the slate for the VP elect position. Because I think the same thing, like maybe thinking about new ways to gather either online, whether that's through the website, in meetings. But I'm even thinking like it doesn't have to be a formal kind of Robert's Rules meeting necessarily. I think there will be opportunities for peer support, mentorship. Oh, well, you brought up about research. I know we've been talking about that, right? Like more support around folks who have a lot of interest in doing research, but maybe need some support on the next steps or first steps, so we can really grow that and make it more accessible for everyone. So I know we've been having conversations around that, and that gives me a lot of hope that thinking about new ways that we can support everyone. It's a very good time to do that.
Yes, that the Latin American Music Therapy Network is very successful doing those kind of meetings. We even let's have online coffee. Yeah, but that gives us the opportunity just to sit and talk, and so maybe things like that could happen also within this association.
I have 3 educators on the video. So I have one last question that I kind of planned to ask, which I will in just a moment. But I just love, I hear bits and pieces of things connected, be it directly with education and training, or a little bit more indirectly, like the advocacy and research is certainly connected, but then goes beyond. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on, as educators who might be shaping where the profession and the association goes in the next few years, from that education standpoint, what do you think we need to be doing that either we aren't doing enough of or we aren't doing yet?
Congress, the conference. That's the first thing that comes to my mind, to go back to the conference.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's not happening. It's happening. The sponsors are very good. So that is a way to start it. But I think a lot of people miss it. So we'll find a way to do it, even if it's not this year. That gives us also hope, that we will meet again.
Yeah, and definitely members of our community have shared that as well, that they're really excited about the possibility of returning to that.
I think related to that, I do think that students, it's been a while since our students have had the opportunity to experience a national conference. We have students who are finishing our programs like right now that have never experienced a national in-person conference before. And for those of us who have, we can, we remember and fondly think of the connections made, the excitement, the ignition that happens from going to a national conference. The regional conferences are amazing, and I am just so thankful that things have been continually running during this period where AMTA was unable to host a national conference. And I think we're a little bit incomplete by not having a national conference as a health profession. And so we do need to strive to move back to that again. I think the thing that comes to mind to answer your question, Lori, that I think about a lot is how can programs balance the individual unique needs of students while still meeting what our professional competencies are. We just have so much more knowledge now than we ever have of the specific student needs that are existing right now, whether they are neurodivergent individuals, or they have mental health issues, or they have different learning needs. How can we meet all of these needs and get people with lived experiences into the profession and meeting the competencies? I think that is something, program after program really should be looking at.
Lori, I'm thinking about, for some reason, I'm reminded of like the early COVID days where suddenly we were just resourceful in new ways and sharing resources, freely sharing resources and putting in time to develop, teaching tools for Zoom and all these like, just there was so much sharing going on. And something about that really stuck with me. I'm thinking about like now here we are 5 years later and we have new platforms in place, AMTAU, the opportunity we might have to, again, like share resources in new ways because we know that our faculty have unique skills and approaches and philosophies in all the different programs, and that's a great thing. And I think like, is there a way to connect more consistently, whether it's even just in sharing resources and making them available to students in other programs. I love having the opportunity to have guest lectures or like guest lecture exchanges, things like that in real time, that's not pre-recorded, but if there's a way to promote those, that even just like the energy around like sharing resources, I think it's such a healthy thing in our field as opposed to digging in and viewing our programs so separately, because I think all the programs have something really unique to offer. So that's coming to mind for me. The other thing that's more of like a concern, but I think it still could connect, is the amount of burnout with new professionals and how to be less reactive and more like proactive around that, knowing that that's likely going to be on some level part of someone's experience in their first few years if things continue to be so challenging, and even when they're not, it's not it's not easy work that we do. So how can we not necessarily saying change everyone's curriculum, but build in additional resources to support those students and support the faculty too, because I think we need to be honest that like faculty also, right? Many of us are empaths and we take it on, or that it could start with us as well. So how to be really clear on what are we doing for self-care, yes, but also community care around that issue, because it's really significant, and it's kind of like working against our efforts to continue to grow and like all the things we've been talking about. If folks are not really feeling supported or don't have the tools to care for themselves, we're not going to keep growing in the way that we want to. So I don't have all the answers around that, but I definitely see the need and would be excited to support like any efforts made in that area.
I love that all three of you are thinking big picture, right? Education is not just one way. There's conferences, there's AMTAU, there's the academic programs, there's new tools and strategies that you're really looking at. How can we support the educational needs of music therapists kind of across that career span? So I thank you for that. So I think just one last question and just kind of a rapid fire lightning round here. I'd love for each one of you to tell me just one thing that really excites you about the profession.
Well, I love music therapy because it transforms lives. It sounds like a commercial, but it does. I see it. I see it every day. It is always different. Every person is different. So what a patient or student or every person is different. But deep in the end, it makes me feel that I am doing something for the person in any way. And when we see that as a country, in a big picture, then we are transforming many lives and many people from everywhere.
Yeah, I love that so much, Marta. I was I don't know that I have a great answer, but it kind of comes back to just like the reminders about the power of music that I'm just so grateful for because I realize that like that has not changed. Like there's so many more challenges now than when many of us got into the field. But I also think, you know, when we kind of trust the power of music and our training and our community, we know that we can find new ways to use that, you know, even if it's just to cope and to remember why we got into this to begin with. And so those moments where I'm still in a session and just you know, kind of feel the goosebumps, like this is why I do this, or in the classroom, really grateful for those. And yeah, so just still feel really grateful to be able to do this as my career and to have this connection with all of you.
Here, here, Brian and Marta. I agree with all that you both have just shared. I think we have one of the most creative and flexible professions, and one of the things that I have loved, in addition to what has been said already, is the ability to really have my days look different from day to day. And I also feel like there's so much variety in how music therapy can look and be applied, that there's a place for everyone. And I think that that is just such an important feature of music therapy, whether it's the therapist or the person receiving the therapy, there's a place for everyone in music therapy.
Well, that's a pretty great note to end on from all three of you. So, thank you so much for spending this time with us today and helping us get to know you a little bit and what you are looking forward to in these roles. For those of you that are watching, thank you as well. We're so glad that you took the time to get to know Leslie and Brian and Marta. We will be sending out more information about the elections process in terms of the starting date and how it's going to be run and all that very shortly. So please stay tuned for more information, and thank you again, everyone.